Welcome to another episode of A Warrior Spirit, where we let the inner warrior out into the light of day. Today, I am blessed to be here with Meghan Holder. Meghan is a healer, and she also has her own podcast, Pivot 180 Weekly Boost. And, Meghan, I appreciate you joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
So your story is a little rocky as well, right?
Sure.
All-terrain vehicles are necessary for our lives.
Love it. Love it. Give me a four-wheel drive every day.
Right. Why don't you start where you feel most comfortable, and let's jump in.
Sweet. All right. I appreciate the opportunity because, every time we do share our story, a little piece of us does some healing in ourselves even more. And then sharing our story obviously can also help others heal themselves and help them through the muck. And I know that we talked about that recently too. So super excited about healing myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And helping the others along the way.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I say, you just brought up to the point, my job for my clients is to help their scab become a scar, because if it's a scab, we're still picking at it. If it's a scar, then we're healed from it and doesn't hurt us anymore, right?
Right. We remember it, but it doesn't hinder us in the same aspects. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a learning lesson.
Right. So where did your scars start from?
Oh, well, I'd say as many people's, their scars start, at a young age. And mine were, I would say, more emotionally bound or mentally triggers and scars that way, which sometimes is difficult because not everybody sees it. And or they look at the person, the child, being the issue and not their environment. And we see that a lot today. And a lot of that also has to do with like the parents healing themselves or not, and not looking in the mirror as, okay, I'm instigating this type of behavior in my child because I haven't healed from my wounds. And I think that is a huge factor in not setting the blueprint for our future generations, is by healing ourselves before we, start implementing certain things in our children, because it's just going to be repeated. I mean, how often do we hear is like, oh, that sounds just like your mother.
Yes.
Or you're acting just like your father, type of thing, right? And it may be a good thing, but a lot of times it's not so good of a thing to repeat that kind of trauma and mindset. If we are constantly in a fearful mindset and then we teach that to our children, you can't really harp on them for not trying new things if you're in this lack mentality, right?
Yeah.
So I grew up I am only child. That's not really going to change, especially at my age. I mean, I do have
surprises lately.
Stepbrothers, stepsisters. But I was well into my adult life. But anyway, so only child, raised first in a military family, and then in a very strict conventional religious upbringing after that point. And just having that overpowering, controlling attitude, I guess, and feeling within the home, it's restrictive, number one. Two, I'm actually reading a book right now, is Body Keeps the Score. Great book. Anybody that's in that range and just wanting to learn things about themselves too, is when we have these triggers or these stimulus enter, either mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever, it affects us, like the cells in our body.
Yes.
And looking back, some of the things that I went through, some of the health issues that I went through could have been related to this fight or flight response that my body was having to this type of environment, right? And there's another book, it's called Your Body Speaks Your Mind. So it's just like your body manifests what is happening in your mind. And this has a lot to do with like how we look at our life too. So changing our mindset, but changing not only our mindset, but having different traumas and how our upbringing is can change our programming and essentially the chemicals in our brain to alter our outcomes as an adult.
Well, I think that's it's an important piece that a lot of people miss because they hear the catchphrases, change your mindset, or, affirmations or whatever, but they forget the piece of you have to actually change your beliefs about the worthiness of those, right? And what's fascinating, and you're aware of this as I am, the stuff we're talking about, it sounds like woo-woo to a lot of people, but it's based in science. It's based in neurology. It's based in like
biology, neurology, quantum physics, all of that. So
yeah. So I think it's an important point to really it's one thing to change your mindset, but you got to change that belief about that mindset, right?
And starting with the belief of and belief in your self-worth.
And when they say you're healing generational curses, you are changing the DNA to which that generation gave you, right?
Yes. There's scientific proof that where you change if you start believing that you will have cancer in your body because every other person in your family had cancer, then most likely you will. But also has to do with the environment as well. I mean, if you're in an environment where there's poor water, toxic water, and you stay there, then your body's going to react to that. If you stay in a certain environment mentally, your body's going to react to that and manifest in different ways and different symptoms.
Well, and you grew up in a very double whammy oppressed military and religious, like two oppressive environments all in one.
And don't get me wrong, like I am very thankful for the military. They have their roles. There are certain people that take it to the extreme. And one end of the spectrum, whereas other ones, it's you have two ends of the spectrum on anything. And in the case of my upbringing, it was more of the control. So yes, and also for religion, it does have its space. And in my understanding now, if you would have talked to me 10 years ago, it would not have been the same. It's like all religions have their purpose, all of them right and all of them are wrong, in my opinion. And that's up for grabs for anybody. If that triggers you, I apologize. That may be something that you want to look at.
Yeah. So. Well, I grew up, I call myself a Reformed Catholic, and I learned very early on, there's a difference between the religion and the spirituality of the religion.
Yes.
And the religion is what the men inside the church have built. The spirituality is what the deity you believe in brought to it. So, I mean, that's my own personal take on that. So I get what you're saying.
I completely agree with that. And that was definitely a learning point for me, because for a very long time after that, after being expelled from that religion and that lifestyle, and basically my whole life turned upside down by choosing me, right? It was a tough thing because I shunned out all religions for a long time. And then like you said, it's just taking points of the spirituality, whereas basically they all have the same message of love. That's what we need to focus on.
Right. And that's when you're trying to embody is the message of the love, right? And in your case, because it was an emotional scar or emotional trauma, the outside world doesn't offer you any empathy or sympathy for your mess. They just say, what the hell's wrong with you? Get out of it, right?
Right.
So what was your low point, and then what helped you out of that?
Oh, there was a lot of low points, I'll tell you that. And they all came in different angles for sure. I guess me bucking the system in my mind, becoming a teenager, I mean, normal reactions, right? Bucking the controlling portion of it. I ended up leaving home at 16, just trying to pull a better life for myself. Less fitting in a box, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting, like, they found me and I was safe. They decided to put me in a psychiatric facility because I was the one with the problem. And during that time period in that facility, I was given a medication cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you are familiar with teenagers, their frontal lobes, their brain isn't fully cooked yet. So when you start adding more ingredients and more ingredients, it kind of screws things up a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, that was the case. And so eventually going through therapy and talking, and I didn't find that the medications were help or in my best interest. And that was a decision I had to make. Some people frown upon that, but it is my decision, my body, my choice, right? So I chose to move forward in more natural ways. And yes, there are ups and downs. So I did natural, I did therapy. And then there was other times where I went through hard things again, and then it would be self-sabotage. So drinking, drugs, other forms of self-sabotage, whatever you want to insert there, please do. And eventually I got to the understanding is like, either, if I keep repeating this cycle of adding things to my life to try and fix something versus fixing myself from within, and then also stepping into what I'm still stepping into is knowing that I'm a healer. So ever since I was little, I've been wanting to help people or animals or the environment, right? Make something better, but that had to start with me and then go outward, right? So after my mom passed, I was 27 and went on a tailspin with that. So after that point, I started going on trips to commemorate her lot, or to commemorate the anniversary of her death. And then it got to doing something bigger than me. So now around the anniversary of her death, I put on beach cleanups locally. And this has just kind of brought me down the path of healing myself, the community, the environment, all in one with that. And then with the other things that I do with the podcast, it's a means to offer the community, wherever, can tune in to, like yours is to share their story, to offer people resources to connect with, to see others who have gone through their similar ordeal and maybe find a way to dig themselves out as well. And believe me, it has gotten bigger than what I anticipated. And actually, I've benefited a lot more from it than what I ever anticipated from it as well, and made so many connections with it. So I'm very grateful for that. And then this past year, through all that too, I chose the word of heal. That's the one I focused on. So I made it a point to heal me physically, mentally, spiritually. And I've found 3 different things that I can focus on as well, through offering neurofeedback, through the podcast, through my photography, which is cathartic for myself. But it can also bring an income, which was a new understanding for me, is that, I can have a passion-based business and, not have to be in another box type of thing. And then also with the neurofeedback is that, the whole science behind it too.
So your mom has recently passed.
It's been almost 12 years now.
12 years. Okay. I thought recent because it still sounded, fairly raw for you. What's your relationship like with your father now?
It has been pretty much non-existent since I was about 18. So 20 plus years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And other than your intestinal fortitude to pull yourself out, what was your guiding light? What propelled you from your darkness to your healing light?
Just having this innate feeling that there was more to life than what was happening at that moment. And there was a point in time where I had a noose around my neck. And it was those last few minutes or moments before I actually stepped off that I told myself, there has to be more. This can't be it. So my life and anybody else's life is worth more than that. There is a light. So.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to find that resolve, because you are making a difference in the world and you are changing lives. And, when we're in the midst of our own struggle, it's hard to find what that is. And you and I have mentioned before, the beauty of the lotus flower is that it grows out of crap, right?
Exactly.
And we have to make our life mean more than the shit we were dealt with, right? Like I believe that the cards we are dealt is predetermined. How we play them is our free will. And we're not always dealt aces.
No.
But you can still make a winning hand, right?
Most definitely. It adds up and stack them whichever way that you want.
So if you were to give your best advice to someone struggling and going through their own mess, how would you help them turn that into their message?
Probably the simplest way is just to find one simple thing that you enjoy doing out of life and do that for 5 minutes and then move up from there.
One moment at a time, right?
One moment at a time, for sure. Just take that extra walk or go draw a smiley face or something.
So you're a photographer now, which brings you your moment of joy.
Yes.
What is your passion to shoot? Some are portraits, some are nature, some are
It is definitely nature.
Yeah.
I do live by the beach, so
Okay.
I enjoy getting up and catching the sunrise on the beach, and it's also a good source of magnesium, which calms.
Yes.
So,
Right.
Also vitamin D, getting your sun. Not everybody has that available to them, but and I didn't for a long time, but I knew at some point it's like I needed to live by the ocean. So I made that happen. And it was a struggle to get back here. But yes, it was well worth it.
Well, the universe opens up the path when you start believing you're worthy of it.
Yes.
Right.
Most definitely.
So are you photographing for your own enjoyment or for sale, or?
Both. I mean, I'm enjoying it in the moment, getting, seeing the beauty in the moment and then capturing it and being able to share that with other people. So yes, I have been able to sell the photography, and just recently I've had the honor to actually be accepted to a gallery locally.
Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. If we drop a link somewhere, is there a place where they can check out your stuff, or how would they find you?
So the photography portion of it is you can find on Facebook. It's called Beholder of Beauty. That's the Facebook page. And then I also have an Etsy shop. And it's basically Beholder O Beauty on Etsy.
Well, I'll be sure to drop a link so people can check that out. I'll also, let them know that Pivot 180 Weekly Boost, you air that every Wednesday?
every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's around
Okay.
lunchtime around here. So yeah.
Okay, I'll have them tune into that as well. Meghan, your story is one of inspiration and hope. And
Thank you.
as I tell, those that are brave enough to share it, you're embodying the warrior spirit that I think the world needs more of. So thank you for joining me today. Is there any other words of wisdom or things that you want to share with the folks?
I mean, there's so much. So basically what I touched in the beginning is, healing ourselves is the main point, because that's going to make the difference in our own lives and the people around us immediately, in our environment, our children, and essentially globally.
And I'll play off of what you said. We are meant for more. So don't give up that hope.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Can't always see it at first, but
Right.
but it's there. So, well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much. It's an honor to know you, and I look forward to what
Likewise.
2023 brings for you.
Yes, for you
Right.
as well.
Thank you,
Thank you
Meghan.
so much.
Bye.